Hello, everybody. John here from the esports department, going over the five-game LPL LCK slate for tonight. It is the last of the five-game LPL LCK slates, and then actually we will have a few days off from hearing my wonderful voice because the LPL is going on break, and the LCK always doesn't play on Monday and Tuesdays, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, I guess, my time. So and then we'll have about a week and a half of LCK only slates, and then we'll be back to regular with the LPL LCK. This one, not as crazy as last night's, which I kind of like. I mean, I did end up winning the $15 last night, but I prefer slates a little bit more like this one than the ones like last night. So many viable options last night that I think it was really hard to nail down exactly what was likely to work. So a slate like this, I think you have a little bit more. You can really kind of zero in and get some better ideas of what you think is going to happen. Starting off with LNG minus 120, they're 4-2 on the season, up against Rare Atom, who's minus 110, 3-3 on the season. Against winning teams, LNG is 2-2, Rare Atom is 1-3. LNG going back to Makuya this game, which is a little interesting. I really thought they'd stick with Natural. He changed his name now, obviously, but I really thought they'd stick with Natural. But, they lost with Natural in there, and they're going to go back to Makuya, so we'll see how that works out for them. These teams do have reasonably similar schedules so far this year, so I think the stats hold up well. And in the stats, it's 18-20 to 18-13. Slight advantage actually for Rare Atom in gold differential per minute. LNG with both First Blood and First Turret advantages, but Rare Atom with the Dragon advantage. And at 15 minutes, these teams are pretty close to identical. So basically what we're saying is this is a really good matchup. Very close. You could definitely play either side of this. Should be reflected in their pricing. You can see 5,600 for Makuya, 5,600 for Cube, Tarzan at 66, Land 64. They're right in the middle there, pretty cheap. Should be able to fit them with a lot of other teams. As far as potential scoring, LNG hasn't been one of the better teams for scoring this year, but Rare Atom has been pretty good. 16.6 a little low, 20 for the DPL is reasonably high. I would think you're going to get decent numbers out of these teams if it goes with them. Looking at, let's see, in the mid lane, what are we looking at for these two? Icon at an 88, Fofo 76. So really it likes the LNG side, at least when it comes to that. Yeah, in pretty much every position it looks like. It doesn't mind the LNG side when they win, but it's not as big of a fan of Rare Atom when they win. Either way, I think this matchup, especially with the way their pricing fits in, you should be able to fit these guys in some pretty good lineups. You might find these guys in cash might be a little too sketchy with how close the matchup is, but something like winner take alls, you could see these guys. They probably fit in very well with other teams that people want to play. Second match of the day, Victory 5 minus 345. They are 3-4 on the season, up against E-Star, who is plus 240 and 2-5 on the season. Both teams have played against 4 winning opponents. Victory 5 is 1-3, E-Star is 0-4. Another one where it feels like probably the numbers should be reasonably accurate for you, comparing these two teams. And it's not as far off as you might think. Victory 5 1784 to 1750 for E-Star. About an 80 gold advantage in gold differential. Dragon advantage actually goes to E-Star by 3%, but at 15 minutes it's an 800 gold advantage for Victory 5. I do think Victory 5 should win this matchup and is heavily favored for a reason. I don't know that I'm going to be touching a lot of E-Star tonight. It does feel like the Shousey show over there on E-Star. I think I'm more likely to lean towards the Victory 5 side, but this is a pretty high-scoring matchup, 18-19 for Victory 5 and a 17.5, 18.2 for the kill per win, death per losses for E-Star. Makes me lean towards wanting to get some Victory 5 in my lineups. If you wanted to play E-Star in the bigger fields, I'm totally down with that. I think E-Star definitely could win this matchup, will probably be super low-owned. And this matchup statistically is a lot closer than I think a lot of people in their minds have this matchup. I do think Victory 5 is going to win, but E-Star definitely live. I think I would prefer playing a team from this match to playing a team from the first match. So if E-Star fits into your big field GPP builds, I'd be down with it. The third match is the banger coming out of the LPL today. Invictus Gaming, minus 105. They are 4-3 on the season, up against RNG, minus 135, 5-1 on the season. Invictus has played against 4 winning opponents, RNG only 2, so a very weak schedule so far for RNG, where Invictus is over 50% against winning teams. That said, or I mean over 50% of their matches are against winning teams. They're only 1-3 when they've played them. Looking at the stats, about a 25 GPM advantage for RNG, 57 GDM advantage for RNG. They have the advantage in first blood, first turret. They do not have the dragon advantage. It is 17% to Invictus. And at 15 minutes, they're not too far off, 270 something gold in favor of RNG. But both teams are doing pretty well at 15 minutes. KPW DPL wise, this is going to be your highest score of the game, or the highest score of the night, and feels like this is the game you probably want to lock in on. I like having a game like this on a slate, one that you can really focus in on and decide where you feel about it, and then get that game in a lot of lineups, and this definitely feels like that game for tonight. I think I'll be heavily involved in one of either side. RNG, they both feel more like GPP plays to me. I don't know that I'm going to play one of these two teams in cash, at least not in heads-ups. I might be willing to play in winner-take-alls. I would definitely be willing to play either of these teams, whoever you think is going to win. For heads-ups, I don't know that you can go here. Victory 5 feels like the main team to target in the heads-up realm, but we'll look at that in a minute. IG and RNG, definitely feeling like a matchup to be looking at. Going over to the LCK, not as exciting at all over in the LCK. The first matchup, HLE minus 575, 5-2 on the season against winning teams. They're 3-2. Live Sandbox plus 350, 1-6 on the season, and 0-5 against winning teams. Not a lot to talk about in this matchup. This is probably the easiest matchup of the day. I think HLE is heads up playable if you wanted to play them. They're just miles better than Sandbox in every statistic that you can really count, and their KPW being 19.4 definitely makes them at least worthy of consideration. Sandbox does have a 17 DPL and has at least shown to be bloody in wins as well, so I think HLE becomes playable in heads-ups on this matchup for sure. I'm not going to talk too much about that game. The last game of the day actually is a bigger favorite, but people might not view it quite that way. Damwon Gaming minus 850, 6-1 on the season, 3-0 against the other winning teams, coming up against DRX plus 475, 5-2 on the season, and 1-2 against winning teams. The thing that I wanted to point out from this is DRX has been a conundrum of a team for a lot of people, but I just want you to note how their stats look. So 1772, slightly better than Live Sandbox. 45-45 here, about the same as Live Sandbox. 40% Dragons to 57% Dragons. Minus 985 at 15, minus 107. So Live Sandbox, I mean, gold differential per minute obviously leans by about 70 points towards DRX, but DRX statistically is not much better than Sandbox. And Sandbox is 1-6 on the season. DRX is 5-2. This is just very much appears to be like a fraudulent team situation, and I think we can see why when you look at some of these wins. I point back a lot to the Afrika win early in the season, where Afrika was up like 2,000 gold in 3 straight games on them and managed to lose 2 of those games. Statistically, DRX just isn't very good. And so even though they've managed to pull out enough wins and they're sitting at 5-2 right now, it's definitely right to me that Damwon is a bigger favorite over them than, say, HLE is over Sandbox. I think this is probably a pretty smash spot for Damwon. That said, Damwon has not been a team you've wanted to play in DFS this year, generally speaking, and I'm not sure. I mean, DRX does have a reasonably high DPL, but I'm still not sure this match is one I'm looking to really target. If I'm skipping out on a match today, it's definitely either this one or the HLE Sandbox, and I think I'd rather just skip Damwon DRX overall and lean towards some HLE and then a mixture of all the LPL teams, which is generally kind of what I do anyway. It's almost always an LCK match that I skip out on. The LPL has gone back to being significantly higher scoring after a split where a couple of the LCK teams were contending with the LPL. Looking at ownership, hopefully my dogs don't lose it here. Looking at ownerships, I think Sandbox is going to be your lowest owned team. I don't know why. There's just not a good spot to play them. The matchup is not super exciting, and it doesn't look extremely bloody or anything like that. I think E-Star actually comes in second to last. I could be wrong. People might not value DRX as much as I'm thinking. I put DRX third from the bottom because I just hear a lot of people being like, oh, the DRX team is so much better than we thought, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that won't affect people against Damwon. and they should maybe be a little bit lower. In fact, I do probably think I think they probably end up down here. So I think those three are definitely your three lowest. I took a little bit of a thing here. I don't think HLE is going to be a popular play. I don't think people are going to want it. There's a lot of good spots to go on this slate, and it doesn't feel like HLE is one of the best. So I feel like people are willing to go there. Rare Atom, I think, shows up right about in this spot. They might be switched with Damwon. I definitely think some people will want to pick up Rare Atom against LNG. That matchup is pretty close and has some potential for scoring. I put Damwon in next. They just always end up higher owned than I expect them to. They haven't been very good for scoring this season. I've pretty much completely faded Damwon all year so far, and I think a lot of people have been playing them significantly more often than me. Next up, I think, is going to be RNG. I think RNG and IG, or IG, I mean, and I think IG and RNG are both going to be top 4 owned teams. I think that matchup is just so bloody, has such potential for blood, and it's a very close matchup. I think people will go there. LNG in at third, not one of the higher scoring LPL teams, but an LPL favorite. They're usually always going to be in the top 4. And Victory 5, I think, comes in second. It could be Victory 5 and RNG swapped here. Actually, upon thinking about it, it probably will be. I think you'll probably see Victory 5 up top and RNG down a little lower. Just because some of RNG's ownership's going to IG and almost none of... there's almost no ownership against Victory 5, so we'll go with Victory 5 at the top. Looking at the scoring, I think we're going to get kind of... I'm going to leave RNG and IG in there when we talk about the scoring. So the Shy showing up at the top, something you're not expecting to see there. Xiaohu in second, so IG, RNG showing up at the top. Then Longji for Victory 5. Morgan, Khan, and Makuya actually showing up at the very bottom. A little interesting there. In the jungle, IG on top again. RNG drops down a little bit. Victory 5 in second. HLE third. LNG pretty low, so it's not loving that LNG matchup. What happens, let me include Rare Atom as well, because that game's kind of a pick'em, but I think they're also not projected very well. Yeah, even down at the very bottom in the jungle, same thing. You're seeing LNG and Rare Atom down there. In the mid lane, Chovy is actually up top. Mole in second, Rookie in third. Rookie not having as good of a fantasy season as he has in the past. LNG comes in after that, followed by RNG. And Damwon and Rare Atom at the very bottom. So Rare, and that's a big drop off too between the 84 for Showmaker and the 76 for Fofo. At 80 carry, RNG comes up to the top. Gala, Wink way lower here. The first position I think I guess in mid IG wasn't as high up there. But IG's 80 carry and mid have not really been having the best fantasy seasons, despite the fact that they're a very high scoring team in general. Ghost, the big fall off here. iBoy, second to last. It's HLE, Victory 5, LNG, and RNG up towards the top. At support, it's RNG up top. Lucas is in third there. PP God second. Barrel down towards the bottom. So Damwon Gaming, Rare Atom feeling like they're not a high-scoring contender. Damwon Gaming feeling like they're not a high-scoring contender. It feels like LNG is kind of lower as well. I think HLE, IG, Victory 5, and RNG seem like the 4 teams that are being leaned towards scoring-wise. I'm not super surprised by that. If we were looking at heads-ups, I should say heads-ups because cash is a little different than heads-ups. Like, I think if you're playing like winner-take-alls or something like that, teams like RNG or IG should probably be in your lineup for sure. But if we were looking at heads-ups, who do we have as an option, really? Damwon, HLE... I don't think we can really play IG or RNG unless you have a really strong lean on those two. Victory 5 feels like kind of the lock team for me. I don't think you really want to mess with Rare Atom and LNG either. So it feels like either Victory 5 HLE or Victory 5 Damwon for heads-ups tonight. Let's see who they pair better with. Victory 5 and Damwon, we get a 578.5. It's a Longji captain with 4 Victory 5. And then when we switch over to HLE, it's a 592. 8.4. So it highly prefers, it's the same type of lineup. It's also a Victory 5 LNG captain with 4 Victory 5. It does put Morgan in your lineup, which is a little bit sketchy. Who plays first from the LCK tonight? Okay, you will at least know if Morgan is playing for game 1. This is tough because you're getting such low upside lineups here, but they are pretty safe. If you have a lean on, like, let me see what the LNG Victory 5 looks like. 607 with a mid lane captain. $615 with a jungle captain if you play RNG in Victory 5. Yeah, this is a spot where I think you can either play Victory 5 HLE, which I think is pretty safe and solid, or if you really have a strong lean on like maybe RNG or LNG, you could maybe go with those lineups. They do give you a pretty decent amount, like 40 points of upside basically. 36, 38 points of upside to go this way, and then like 28 points of upside to go with LNG. And I do think those teams are reasonable favorites. If you believe the Vegas line is like exactly accurate, I think you have to play Victory 5 HLE. But if you think either RNG or LNG are bigger favorites than Vegas says, then I think you could play one of those two teams with Victory 5 and get the like monstrous amount of extra upside that you're getting there. Of course, if you don't like heads ups tonight, you can always just play winner take alls, and then you can definitely lock in an RNG or an Invictus or an LNG or a Rare Atom if you feel like it. Those teams obviously all super easy fits for winner take all. So that's pretty much all for today, guys. It's kind of, I got to be honest, I'm pretty happy to take a couple day break here and relax a little bit. It's been a good year so far. Hopefully everything's going well for everybody else. I know there's a couple people in the Discord that have had really good years, and another couple people in the Discord that are having struggles this year. So hopefully, you know, maybe get a reversal of fortune for a little bit. Have some of the guys that are running hot run cold for a minute, and have some of those cold guys run hot and get back into the game a little bit. Appreciate you guys, and let's have a good rest of the day. Good luck. Let's get them. Talk to you later.